You are getting ready down there in Austin for week one for the Texas high school football season. It is going to be upon us sooner as opposed to later. My question for you, and I want to focus here, especially in the Austin area, because we have talked. Matt Stepp and I did our 6A preview, and we talked about how the 6A ranks, I think, more than anywhere else, has a group of teams that are particularly well stratified, that have this like upper crust of teams. Kind of set your watch by it. And yet, every year it does feel like maybe one or two drop out and maybe one or two take their place. Maybe as many as three. The story of the year in Austin last year, the only team from Austin, outside of at 6A level, I should say, to make a state championship game was Vandegrift. Are you ready to elevate them into that upper crust of the 6A ranking, or ranking is too strong, of 6A into that perennial contender type conversation?
And by the way, when you and Steph did that podcast, that Mondo podcast, did you spend 6 hours on 6A alone, or just on the whole deal?
No, we got it. I think we got it under 100 minutes, but it was close.
Okay. I do think that they have, enough weaponry to go deep in the playoffs again this year. Vandegrift, they do have a transcendent, game-changing type of player in your DCTF 6A cover boy, Miles Coleman. But they've got something else this year that they haven't had, and that's the experience of playing into Week 16 and playing for a state championship. And in a ball game at 20-17 in the third quarter against DeSoto before the Eagles really flexed their muscles and pulled away in the final quarter. So they have all of those things. I think they have one of the best coaches in the state in any classification in Drew Sanders. And I do think that they've got enough weaponry around all of that to make another deep run. Now, whether it's enough to get over the hump and finally win a title, I don't know, or get back to the state title. Listen, in their own region, what they'll probably be encountering is Dripping Springs times 2 again. Remember how we kept talking about that year after year with regard to Grandview and Malakoff, how they were playing twice a year after year? We could be looking at something like that in these coming years. They played twice last year, played 2 great games, and we could see 2 great games again this year since they're kicking off the season down at Drip this year. So, yeah, they're one of those teams, Tep, I think you can put in the conversation of being right on the cusp of being an annual state title playing contender.
Westlake has already always been, or not always, but in past decade or so, decade plus, has been in that conversation as well. The interesting one is their Battle of the Lakes Brethren in Lake Travis, who is coming off of 7-5, which I don't think I need to tell folks down there in that part of the world is not the standard there at Lake Travis. In your mind, are you filing that away as a one-year thing, a downturn, hey, you know what, it happens to the best programs? Or is this a potential concern that they may drop out of that upper crust?
Well, they have that potential concern every year, and I'm talking about Hank Carter and his staff. They want to make sure they don't slip. They have what Westlake has, what Vandegrift has built, what several of the other top programs in the state have, and that is the system. They've built it up through their middle school, and so they have all of that on a year-in, year-out basis. So I think a one-year step back at 7-5, remember, it was a year where they just had massive injuries they had to overcome. And if they don't have those kinds of injuries, then I think they're back into being in the conversation of a team that can go 2 to 3 rounds or 4 rounds deep. I think San Antonio is beefed up a little bit, and we know what the greater Houston area does in Division I, because Lake Travis, after all, will be in the Division I bracket. So it might be a tougher road for them this year, but I think they're better equipped to handle it than they were last year.
Do you have a team down there in the Austin area that you or statewide? I don't want to limit you to the capital city. Do you have a team statewide that you're ready to jump on the bandwagon and start selling T-shirts for them? Like they're going to be your team that maybe like around here we call it a hipster team. We call it a team that I liked that band. I saw that band in a basement somewhere before they became stars. Is there a team like that right now in the high school ranks that you're like, I'm buying in right now and I want everybody to know that I was on board before it became cool?
Well, I'll give you two. One from the area, since you asked, and then I'll give you one from across the state. How about that? From the area, I would say, and this is going to sound like the homer pick because it just happens to be in the town I live in, it's Georgetown. Mm-hmm. And I do think with what they have with their running game, they're going to be, normally when you're talking now about the lower classifications, we're talking about Liberty Hill, and they're going to be obviously right there and difficult to deal with. But I do think that Georgetown has a chance with its running game and with its defense to be really tough. That's one team to watch out of the area. Now, I will also tell you that in as much as we'll talk about Georgetown in Class 5A and the team, and the team to really watch there in Class 3A Division 2, and you and I were talking about it the other day, and I had them as a team that is under the radar maybe, and we joked about it, how under the radar can you be if you went to the Final Four a year ago? But I do like Harmony, and it's a tough road to get out of that. And of course, they lost to Poth in the semifinals. They went 9-6, so they were 5-5 getting into the playoffs. But they're going to be tough. I think the Seahorn brothers will be difficult to stop. I like Boston Seahorn. That's one of the better better player names, by the way, in the state. This is going to be a dangerous team to watch, I think, in the lower classifications.
And finally, Craig, we've got a whole week, or got a whole season of conversations ahead. But I do want to get you on the record here right now. There are 12 reigning, defending UIL Texas high school football state champions. Right now, which one would you say you would be most confident in going back to back? Which or back to back to back if they've already won one. But which of the 12 state champions are you most confident or you think is the biggest favorite to repeat?
I'd probably say Duncanville. I would probably go with Gunter, except we know what those Braveheart clashes, those battles those pitched battles that they have every year with Canadian are going to be like. So it's almost like flip a coin as to who's going to come through all of that. So perhaps Duncanville, now that they also have had a taste of it and have won a state title under Reggie Samples, I think they're going to be difficult to beat. DeSoto is also going to be tough as well, and I think the Division II bracket is probably going to be a little more wide open than the usual suspects. We know what North Shore is going to do in the D1 bracket in Region 3, and then we just talked about Lake Travis or Westlake in Region 4. So, I would probably feel safest with Duncanville, but it's hard to chisel that in granite, as we know, because there's so many of those annual usual suspects that we discuss every year like we're doing right now.
He's Craig Way. He's a Texas High School Football Hall of Famer and the voice of the Texas Longhorns. He will be joining us here every Tuesday here on Texas Football Today, and you can see him again on Bally Sports Southwest this year, including I'm supposed to say this, Sunday at 11 a.m., the Bally Sports Southwest, the Texas High School Football Season Preview Show presented by the Jack in the Box, which we recorded last week, which is when I saw Craig and asked him if he could be on the show. That's how all this works. I don't have any secrets about how we produce this show. Craig, appreciate your time, my friend, and I will see you much sooner than you think.
Yeah, and my one remaining question is, Did Mallory miss her cue? Because when you said, what Tuesdays are, that's always when Pickle jumps in and goes, TuesWAYS, and it kind of sets you off every week.
That was my bad. There were some wires switched that I was trying to figure out. That is I take full responsibility. That will not happen again.
She's actually producing, which is like I guess
there's a bunch of wires over here that I got to figure out.
I guess what does that mean Pickle does normally when she's doing that? But
yeah, right. So
she's just better at multitasking.
It's still fall camp. We're not into the season.
True.
We're
this
doing
is a scrimmage.
reps against air right now. Craig, appreciate your time, my friend. Talk soon.
All right, we'll see you.
There he goes, Craig Way, the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer, joins us every Tuesday here on Texas Football Today. And next week, Mallory, we're gonna preview week stinking 1